and welcome to And Then All of the Sudden, a podcast where everyday moments with the public take an unexpected turn, reminding us that no matter how much you think you've seen it all, life still has a few surprises up its sleeve.
Whether it's a story from the front lines of public service, a heartfelt moment in community work, a funny scene at church, a quirky encounter in retail, or even the unpredictable world of kids, you name it, we've got a story for it. Moments that start off ordinary and then, well, all of a sudden, something shifts.
So if you ever find yourself thinking, that's it, I've seen everything, join us, because right when you least expect it, something extraordinary happens.
And then, all of a sudden.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to And Then All of a Sudden, a podcast where you just never know what's going to happen. And it goes, and then all of a sudden. So I'm Anna.
And I'm Lee.
And we're glad to be back with you. We hope you have been enjoying our podcast. The last time we got together, we talked about all the things that kids do and the crazy things that kids do. And we got some really good response back for us.
I had a friend tell me recently they were listening in the car and he was laughing so hard he almost had a wreck. So we don't want you to wreck, but we do appreciate that you're enjoying the content.
We were talking this week. We thought, well, what is our subject this week? I was in my hometown visiting with my father, and my father is soon to be 86 years old, and he is hilarious. And I have just gotten to the point where I think of things that I want to know about, and I just start talking to him about it. I was asking him some things about his side of the family and some things that I vaguely remember he and my mother talking about and laughing about. I was asking about this particular family member, and I was telling you about it not long ago. We said, oh man, that would be a really good podcast. We're changing gears a little bit. We've done animals in public places.
Animals.
We've
children.
talked about children. Now we're going to talk about, and then all of a sudden, you find out about the family outlaw. And
we all have them.
We all have them, whether you know it or not. But this is one of those situations where I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you to go talk to your parents or your grandparents, talk to them about these things, because I didn't find out about a lot of these things until I was probably in my mid to late 30s. Some of them a little bit younger. And then I'm still finding out things. And to me, now they're even more hilarious. First of all, are there outlaws in your family, Lisa?
Probably some. I'm not sure. I need to make sure the statute of limitations is run out. You know, my dad was a city officer in the town we grew up in.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I do have a lot of those stories. I do have an older half brother, much older than me. I didn't grow up with them in the home, but they were my siblings. And when your dad's the cop in the town, and it's a small town, you kind of feel like you live in a little bit of a fishbowl. Didn't do a whole lot of things wrong because I was scared.
Well, yeah, your dad was a cop.
Yeah. And everybody knew him. Everybody knew my family. So even if I wanted to do something bad, I'd get told on. They would write me out in 2 seconds flat. But my oldest brother did get arrested one time. I remember them telling me that my dad didn't go get him out. He told him, well, you got yourself in there, get yourself out. And I think he let him stay in jail for 3 days. That was enough to scare me straight. I did not want to live in jail for 3 days. And so when my dad passed away, a lot of the officers that he had mentored through the years shared all kinds of stories about the crazy stuff that he did. A lot's happened since we've seen you last. As we were sharing what was happening, you shared this story because we brought up plane.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, this is such a good story. So I'm going to let you share.
I go home and hang out with my dad. We're sitting there, and just for some reason, it just struck me. I thought, I'm going to ask him about his cousin. Now, this cousin has since passed away. He was several years older than my dad. And my dad's family comes from North Alabama. And This particular cousin was older because I did ask my dad. I said, "Did you ever hang out with this particular cousin?" And he said, "No, I would see him, but he was already out of high school and already doing his own thing by the time I was coming down during summers." We were talking about it, and I said, "Well, Daddy, tell me about him." I said, "Tell me what you know." I said, "I've heard you tell stories." And he began to tell these stories about him. This cousin, and he was my dad's first cousin, grew up in a home of a primitive Baptist preacher because they were strict. And he was a Baptist preacher, and he and his wife, Sister Lily had major expectations on her children. And this cousin was the oldest, and he had charm and charisma. Let's put it that way.
Huh. So he could have went either way. He's either
Yes.
a convict or a politician,
Yes.
or maybe that's
Or a good
same.
boy.
Yes.
Or a
yes,
good boy.
one or the other.
It had to be one or the other.
He was going to rule the world or rule the jail.
Or burn it down. He, just to give you an idea, I'm going to give you a hint which way he went. When he got out of high school, he immediately went into selling cars. I can remember as a child, and when I say child, like 9, 10, 11 years old, we would go down and he would throw these big soirees. He threw himself a big birthday party, and he had this house on the lake and a boat and all this other stuff. And I remember going to his house one time, and he took my dad and he took him to this airport. And he says, "Hey, we're going to go fly." I'm thankful nowadays to know that I did not insist on going. But my dad went, and at some point we were standing in the backyard, and he buzzed the house, and we waved, and I didn't think anything about that. My dad begins telling these stories, and we lived in a little town, and we lived in a subdivision. There was a little private airport that, all little towns have that people can fly in and out of. And we were about 15 minutes away from there. And then my mom's parents lived in the town, the little town, and they knew this cousin as well. They were very well aware of him and had gone places and done some things and had dinner and stuff with him. So my dad tells me, he says, "Yeah, I got this phone call one day, and it was this cousin, and he had flown his plane down to the airport just down from where we lived." And I said, "Oh, yeah, really?" I said, "Well, was he just coming to visit?" And he said, "Well, no, he needed to stay for a couple days." And I'm like, "Needed to stay for a couple days?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Come to find out, he was a con artist, and he was very good at it. And the FBI was on his trail." Oh, and
I take it he sold more than cars.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I have seen his name in the paper a couple times, and not in the local paper, in like the big Nashville paper, And so my dad said he calls, he says, "Hey, I'm down here at the airport." Well, he was on the lam. So here he was. He had flown into this little airport. My dad went and picked him up. And at the time, I don't think my dad even knew, had no idea. So
Aiding and abetting. That's what we call that.
yeah, I didn't even know it. I guess he stayed a couple of days. I don't really remember that, but kind of a related story. One of the times that he was there, he and my dad had been to Nashville or somewhere, and they were coming back, and he was driving the car. My dad was a passenger. And my dad was so funny telling this because he was giggling.
The whole time.
Yeah, the whole time he's telling it, he says, "Ha, ha, ha." So he's telling us, says, "Yeah, we're riding down the road," and says, and all of a sudden, there was a state trooper behind us,
Oh,
and they pulled him over. And this cousin gets his wallet out and gets everything he needs out and hands him the information. And of course, my dad's sitting there, and I think at this time I think he knew that he flirted with the wrong side, and the cop let him go.
oh.
Believe it or not.
He must not have realized who he was.
No, because as they drove off, my cousin left the go on, and as they drove off, he looked over at my daddy and says, "Well, some SOB will be paying for that ticket next week." In other words, he'd given him a fake driver's license of somebody else's. So I feel sorry for whoever that person was that ended up getting a thing in the mail saying that he got pulled over for a speeding ticket. This is the kind of person we're talking about. But the funny thing about him was you could not help but love him. He just had
That
this
personality.
and this charisma. And we talk about this, and we had another cousin that he and this cousin were really tight. And she always helped him out. She could tell the best stories about him. He would get put in jail. He'd stay in jail for a while, and they would find out this is just how charismatic he was in jail. He loved to cook, and he would get in jail, and they would realize that he was this amazing cook, and they'd put him in the kitchen, and he'd cook for everybody. Everybody. They loved it. They just loved him. And so he'd go to jail for a while, and then he'd get out, and the FBI would come after him again for some scam he was running. And he was in and out of jail quite a bit.
The original pyramid scheme. Right there.
Pretty much.
Started with your family. There it is, folks.
Yeah.
You wanted to know where it started. All of a sudden,
there it is.
Anna's cousin.
Yeah, there
That's
you go.
it.
There you go. But you would have loved him, and you would have never known it. But he would get in the jails, and somewhere along the way, and I think my other cousin that was close with him told me this, he met some of the background singers for Elvis.
Oh.
And then he ended up, and he met a bunch of the gospel singers that were real big in the 70s. And then he actually knew Elvis.
Wow.
He actually knew Elvis because Sister Lily, his mama, he gave Sister Lily a TCB, taking care of business, lightning bolt necklace that she wore. Now, you have to remember, I'm going to give you a picture of Sister Lily.
Baptist woman.
Yes, with this taking care of business, lightning bolt,
There you
bright
have it.
gold necklace.
Wow.
Yeah.
One
And,
sight.
and
I'm very visual, so I can see this.
well, and I've seen the necklace, but yeah, Sister Lily with her taking care of business, and Sister Lily didn't play around.
PB Thug.
Yeah. I mean, Sister Lily, I'm sure she prayed for him daily. She was taking care of
A
business.
different way, not the way he did, the way she did.
Exactly. But it didn't take. I mean, you can't fault this cousin because, like I said, you couldn't
Is he
help but love. So likable. And my dad would be so thrilled when we would go to a family reunion and he would be there because he'd bring great food. And then he always had great stories. Now, I asked my other cousin that was close with him, I said, did he really know Elvis? And she said, oh, yeah, he really knew him. So he was not so much of a con you. He lied about everything, but thank you very much. But the one good story that I really like about him and his airplane is, first of all, we have no clue where this airplane came from. Because I asked my dad.
Maybe he traded it for one of the cars he allegedly sold.
Maybe. I don't know. But I asked my dad, I said, Daddy, where did he get this airplane? He said, I don't know. He says, I don't even know that he had a pilot's license.
Oh.
So keep that right there in the back of your mind as we're talking about this. My mother has a brother, and this brother worked with NASA during all of the space age stuff. So he was there for some of the Apollo things and all. So he had some knowledge of flying from being an engineer around all this stuff.
And your cousin did not.
And my cousin did not, because we don't think he even had a pilot's license. My dad and my uncle met him at the airport, and he was going to take them flying. They're in the plane, and they're flying. And for those of you who have played on flight simulators or taken some flying lessons, know that when you bank too far to the left or the right, if you bank too far, it can be very detrimental. and there's an alarm that goes off that tells you you are banking too steep. Well, my uncle knew that, who was sitting in the back seat. My father was just grinning, having a big time in the front seat, had no clue that that's what that beep meant. Because I even asked him that. I said, Daddy, did you not know? No, I was just riding. My uncle keeps hearing these beeps every time they bank. And I think he was white knuckled in the back seat. He was having a cow. I think he was scared out of his gourd.
Yeah, it's different if you know better.
Yes.
If you don't know better, whoops, this is fun.
But when you
know
know
better, it ain't fun.
No. And he knew better. So finally, I think of course, he had no other choice but to sweat it out back there and white knuckle it. And they finally land, and he gets out of the plane, and my dad says, we get in the car, and my uncle says, never again. I will never ride in that. And I've talked to my uncle about that too. And he says, oh no, I swore up and down then I would never ride in a plane with him again. So with all of that said, he eventually ended back in prison at least once or twice, 2 more times. You know, he was a lovable con.
Yes.
You couldn't help it.
That's the charm of it.
And, you know, I got to give him credit. When he was out of the pen, he would go see Sister Lily and spend time with Sister Lily. And she ended up in a nursing home in the end of her years. He would go visit with her, even though she'd been praying for him and taking care of business all that time. But, you know, he was really good at heart. He was just a con man. He'd give you the shirt off his back.
But he would take that shirt from someone else's back
and do it, and you would never know, and you would be just as happy for him to do it. To look back in your family and find out things, and for me to have actually known this person and known the kind of person he was, I just find it hilarious.
He's really good at it.
Yes.
Really good at it. But he just wasn't really good at staying out of jail.
No.
He ran out of fake ID.
I guess so. You know, on the flip side, he had a sister who was just the opposite. She did everything right. She had 2 or 3 bachelor's degrees, and I think she had some doctorates and everything. So she kind of did everything right. I'm just curious to hear from other people.
Yes, we want your dirty laundry.
Your dirty laundry. Yeah. And, you know, I don't really consider that necessarily dirty laundry.
It's just creative relatives. We all have them. Allegedly, I have to say that loosely. Allegedly, my cousins do still brew a little moonshine.
Oh.
I say it allegedly because, you know, they're from not the country. They're from the holler.
And there is a difference.
Yes.
There is a difference.
Holler. And I'm not saying I've ever tasted any, but I am saying it's been known to be out. Allegedly. That's probably, you know, the biggest criminals I have in my family.
We give you a challenge this week. I don't know how you all are, but I kind of like knowing my family history. And some you want to tell and some you don't. And we get that. But if you have something fun to share about somebody in your family that you feel like you can share, and they can always be anonymous, we would love to hear from you.
Tell me where they don't want to incriminate anybody, but you can shoot us a message over under a Facebook or Instagram. Shoot us a message there at All of the Sudden on Facebook or Instagram. You can also email us and then allofthesudden@gmail.com.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
And then all of the sudden, ANDTHENALLOFTHESUDDEN. N as in no, at gmail.com. Shoot us an email. You can also catch us on Substack. If you don't remember that email, you can always email us through Substack.
Yes.
Through All of the Sudden
And
podcast.
then All of the Sudden. Just Google that. You'll find us.
You will. And we would love to have you follow us on Facebook. And as you said, find us on Spotify,
anywhere you're
Apple, anywhere you get your,
yeah. And hey, newsflash. If we do use your story online, or maybe even if we don't, maybe we just read your story and really enjoy it, we actually have merch.
We do.
Just a small sticker.
We'll send you a really cool sticker.
But yeah, we have some really cool stickers and we'd love to get them out there and send you some. So drop us a line, drop us a note. Hey, we like this. Or even tell us that, hey, have you ever thought about talking about this? Maybe we have, and maybe we haven't, and it's a great idea. We'd love to use your ideas too. So catch us on anywhere you're streaming: Facebook, Instagram, Apple Music, Spotify, Substack, all of the things. Reach out to us.
Check, check, check.
Yeah.
And if you send us a story we really like and we have your email, we might reach out to you. And when we get really fancy with our podcast here, we might reach out to you and have you join us as a special guest.
Yes, we're looking at special guests and we are looking at bringing you some video.
It's really exciting.
We're funny and it may not translate without the video. We're pretty funny.
Sometimes just our facial expressions are the best.
Yes, I tend to communicate really well with my face.
That is true. That is true.
I'm
So,
very
hey,
expressive.
We look forward to hearing from you.
I'm Anna,
I'm Lisa.
and honestly, we're just excited to have you along as we share those everyday moments that unexpectedly turn into stories worth telling.
There's something special about those little life surprises. We can't wait to keep this going and bring you all the stories that unfold in our own lives. So if you're up for some genuine laughs and a little company through life's unexpected, unpredictable moments, we hope you'll come back for the next episode.
Until then, take care and see you soon. And then,
all of a sudden,